Good morning, church. It's good to see you. We have missed you a lot, and we look forward to the time when we can all be back together again. I'm Raleen Sloan. This is Tim, and we wanted to share a few thoughts with you today. Back in March, I doubt any of us imagined where we would find ourselves in September. I assumed that by summer life would have returned to normal for the most part. I especially never guessed that we would find ourselves doing remote learning with our grandchildren. Let me tell you, second grade math is not the second grade math from my childhood. And then there are Google Docs, Google Meet, Clever, IXL, and the list goes on and on. It seemed for the longest that the whole world had come to a stop. And in many ways, my world sits very still even today. I don't go to the store, we don't go out to eat, we don't travel. And the hardest, I miss teaching your children and worshiping with you all so very much. At the beginning of every year, I choose a word to focus on, a word to center on, a word to draw me to a better life. Back in January, which does seem a lifetime ago, a friend shared a poem with me. And from that poem, I took my word, continue. I had no idea how appropriate that word was going to be in a year when it seems so difficult to continue anything. I want to share the poem with you. It's written by Maya Angelou. The name of it is Continue. In the poem, where she uses the word wish, I have changed it to pray. This is my prayer for you. My prayer for you is that you continue. Continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. Continue in a society dark with cruelty to let the people hear the grandeur of God in the peals of your laughter. Continue to let your eloquence elevate the people to heights they had only imagined. Continue to remind the people that each is as good as the other, and that no one is beneath nor above you. Continue to remember your own young years and look with favor upon the lost and the least and the lonely. Continue to put the mantle of your protection around the bodies of the young and defenseless. Continue to take the hand of the despised and diseased and walk proudly with them in the high street. Some might see you and be encouraged to do likewise. Continue to plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick and the aged and the infirm, and count that as a natural action to be expected. Continue to let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. Continue to ignore no vision which comes to enlarge your range and increase your spirit. Continue to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. Continue to float happily in the sea of infinite substance which set aside riches for you before you had a name. Continue, and by doing so, you and your work will be able to continue eternally.
We are the continuation. We are the continuing story of God's plan. We are the light that people see, that shines to brighten the dark places. We are the voice that people hear, to guide them out of the wilderness. We are God's eyes, God's hands, God's feet, searching for those that we can serve. We are the vehicle that shows the world that Calvary was not the end. We are the continuation. I think for most of my life that I've had an underdeveloped understanding of God's plan. I've been taught for my whole life that before time began, from the time of Adam to the time of Noah, from the time of Abraham to the time of David, through the time of the prophets to the time of John the Baptist, that all creation was pointing to the crescendo, the pinnacle, the culmination of everything, to Jesus, to his life and his death and his resurrection. And I think it was. It was. I think the scriptures clearly teach that. But I'm not a scholarly person. I'm not an introspective person. I'm not a contemplative person. I'm not a deep thinker. Perhaps I'm only a barely thinker. I guess for years the feeling inside me was that the life of Jesus was the apex, the zenith, the peak of God's plan. And since after every peak is the backside of the mountain, well, I guess I felt like that we were kind of puttering along, kind of biding our time, kind of getting by until the next peak when he returns. I guess I felt like it that in God's plan, Jesus was plan A. And you know what comes after plan A? Plan B. It may have taken me 64 years to get here, but I know we are not God's plan B. Jesus was and is God's plan A, and so are we too. In Ephesians 2:10 it says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." Before time began, from the time of Adam to the time of Noah, from the time of Abraham to the time of David, through the time of the prophets, to the time of John the Baptist, to the time of Jesus, to the present time, God's plan has been for us to continue. And continue we will, to reach out to the wounded, to be light in the darkness, to give hope to the hopeless, to protect the weak, and as Maya Angelou said so eloquently in the poem that Raleen read, to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing, because that has been the plan for us all along. We love you guys. Bye.